Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey there.
Should be
How's-
five, no?
Hey, Chris Barnes. You're muted. What's up?
Yeah, I'm muted. Hello, man. Good to see you.
Good to see
I think four, because it'll be 16 rooms of four. Except maybe one of the rooms would have had five or two rooms.
That's what he said. One of the rooms had five. Okay.
Yeah. It's complete. So, who wants to move forward? Because it's totally random.
My
I
name's
do.
Spencer, and I want to move forward. But I just did that because I wasn't sure. Last time I was in a group where nobody else really wanted to. So now that Chris Barnes is in my group, I don't want to move forward.
No, it's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be some popularity. It should be merit only.
Well, you've got no competition from me because I'm just interested in casting an educated vote that's for the betterment of the community
Cool.
and to support whatever project is best capable of doing that.
So do I call you Mr. Headshot or
Well, it's yeah, you can call me Dan. Or
Dan?
Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah, they seemed like they were pretty strict on changing it to the tag. So
Okay.
I'm super new in all this. I'm not too sure how it all goes, so I'm kind of participating. Hopefully, we'll I don't know, see how it goes.
Cool, Nick.
The way to do it. I mean, this is this is supposed to be just to learn. It's like the first one, right? It was a lot of what are we in for? At least now we have a little more idea.
right.
I was not in the first one, so this is my first one.
Right on.
Did you see any of the videos, Nick? The recordings?
I started watching some very late and didn't get very far into them.
Okay, cool. I'll start with my pitch. How about that, Chris?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could take mine takes about 5 minutes to get through the deck, which is long. So if you want to take more time and no one else objects,
Nice.
go longer than 3 minutes.
I don't think I need that. I want to give my pitch first because I think my pitch is important to understanding Eden. At first, I wasn't going to run for election, but then I realized after reading maybe your post, Chris, the harder I fight to be Satoshi, the better Eden is. So that made me want to run. It's like if somebody's like an impressive Satoshi and I'm trying to outdo them, it makes them a better Satoshi for me. So that's why I wanted to run. So you got your work cut out, Chris. Whatever you say, I'm going to try to make it better.
I love it. Yeah. Awesome. That's the best. Yeah.
And I have a flexible schedule. It allows me to dedicate a lot of time to Eden. But Chris has proven himself. So I was going to actually say in my breakout group, if Chris wasn't in there, like, did you guys see Chris dedicate his time to this? Like, he poured his passion into being an elected representative. Are you going to do that? I was going to pose that question to people. So, Chris, are you going to like dedicate the same amount of time and passion to this going forward, or am I going to have to trump you on that?
No, I'm not planning to change my approach as of yet. So no, I want to do more. In fact, I'm going to try to be.
Oh
more.
my gosh, that's what I want to hear. Okay, that's pretty sweet. I'm an effective communicator, generally speaking. I can synthesize pretty complex things and try to make them relatively coherent for everybody involved. So that's something I think we should look for in a Satoshi, in a representative, because you've got to take lots of different things being thrown at you on the fly and understand them and realize how they all fit together for everybody involved. So that's important. I can do that. And let's see. Yeah, no matter what you say, Chris, I'm going to try to make it better. So let's see. I would create a Telegram channel to begin with because I felt kind of disconnected from my last representative in the first Eden trial. It would be nice to feel more connection with the representative. Like, here's what was going on, especially if we don't have a really solid plan for where the funds are going immediately. It's like, oh yeah, this is where the funds are going, and just message me a proof of that spending so that I can verify your accountability for those funds being used as you promised, then maybe that's all we need from the representative in this group. If we have a really solid funding solution going forward, I do not have a solid funding solution going forward. So if I got the 10 EOS, I would just keep you all updated on where those EOS are, how they were being spent, where you wanted to see them being spent. And it would just be our collective money that you would hold me accountable to spending how this group sees fit going forward. So, yeah, that's it.
Cool. Any question, Dan, Nick, for Spencer before I jump in?
Yeah. So do you have any kind of a project that you are working with, or are you just an excited community member that's trying to make sure that your voice is heard and that you can serve?
Yeah, no project specifically. So if I got the funds, I would just keep us all on a Telegram channel, and those funds would be ours, and I would be in charge of spending them how you all saw fit.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Unless Chris has a project, then I'll adopt that one and make it better.
Excellent. I love it. The iterative approach, right? That's how it's supposed to be. I'm going to miss your cat now, Nick. I love cats, but I can't have any because my wife and daughter are allergic. So before I had my wife and my daughter, I had a cat. It's since passed away, but now I can't replace it. So I'm ever envious when I see cute fluffies.
They're nice most of the time.
Right on. Okay, so I'm going to share screen. Share screen. Screen 2. Share. Hopefully that comes up. Yes, no? Yeah, okay. So Josh Seymour, who's been really active and helpful, he put this together for me based on like a post that I did essentially in the Telegram chat. It's a long pitch though, so I'm gonna just go fast so this doesn't take too long. And then, we'll go back and adjust any questions. So I would like to use this opportunity to have the mandate to start an Eden members approved proxy. So, hold on, let's get it so I can scroll down. So it will be the proxy of the people in the EOS ecosystem. The proxy will vote based for BPs based on various KPI that will be determined in advance. The most heavily weighted metrics will be that of the Eden members themselves based on their votes in the eosrate.io tool created by EOS Costa Rica. This is kind of what that looks like, and you basically sign in with your EOS account. So it would be Eden members would sign in with their Eden member account, and then they would vote subjectively on various metrics about BPs. So there'll be additional objective metrics that will also be weighted in the BP selection, but the goal is to most heavily weight the subjective views of the Eden members themselves. So those views are expressed via the following KPI, and this is from their tool: transparency, trustiness, community, development, and infrastructure. So those working on this proxy will aim to provide summaries and access to all the data that we collect. So we're going to have a website or something that will present all the data. We want to encourage the block producers to collaborate with this proxy as opposed to being adversarial. We want to actually try to be collaborative. So I'm going to encourage BPs to start a dialogue with us, and that could include interviews or opportunities to promote on behalf of what the BPs are doing. And we know some BPs aren't as communicative, and that will just show up in the metrics. We couldn't get a hold of them. We couldn't find out what they're saying or what they're doing. We want to help token holders stay well informed. So the information that we gather will help the Eden members make conscientious votes as opposed to rationally ignorant votes. To set this up, I'm going to consult some various members within Eden who do run BPs to actually figure out what some of those objective KPIs will be. So those are kind of to be determined because I'm not a pro, but I'm going to rely on the trusted Eden members who are pros in this avenue to kind of sort that out. The plan, if I get a mandate, then I'll have a focused call with these members to set that up. Ideally, it's recorded and then made publicly available so everyone can see what's fed into these KPI. The data sources that I'll use for objective metrics, the EOS Nation has a scorecard, looks something like this. It's purely objective. Aloha EOS also has benchmarks that we can use. And there's another one coming from EOS Costa Rica as well, but they didn't want to announce it yet, so I don't have it here. So Now, what I'd like to do is every month, the proxy will review the data that's been aggregated and any changes, and then have the Eden board, a recorded video, basically present the data to the board and have them vote 2/3+1 that they approve or accept the sort of the outcome of what BPs should be voted for that following month for the proxy. There's also going to be some financial statements that will be presented, because there is an opportunity here that some token holders can vote and choose not to receive a voter kickback. So that then those funds could be directed back towards Eden and just funding this endeavor. The control of the proxy is kind of up for debate. Could be left to someone who's spearheading this, and I may not make it, so it may not be me. This is an open project that someone else could run, so it could be them, or we just do an MSIG with the board, which is probably the best way to do it. And then keep going. So the proxy rewards, I'm going to set this up with GenerEOS has a tool. This is kind of what it looks like. They charge a 2% fee to have this set up, which I think is reasonable, and they're a valuable contributor. So, a 2% kickback for them seems reasonable. We'll leave 18% of the fees that go back to the BPs. So you basically pay the BPs to, you give them money back from what they give to you, if that makes sense. So there's like this kind of back and forth handshake. And then that would leave roughly 80% left over that can either be given back to the voters, or we can take some of that and actually direct it towards Eden and funding this proxy. So for example, you could have 40% go back to the voter, 40% go to Eden. I'd like to also gamify this a bit and adding NFTs, where if individuals or accounts that provide, say, 100% of the reward back to Eden would receive a more unique, fancy NFT. There's more to that come later. So how we disperse the proxy rewards, I would like to have some sort of web hosting, maybe on the edeneos.org website. So a little fee there to pay for someone's time to put up a page that has all this data aggregated. That will have the metrics KPI being tracked. Then, so again, full transparency with the data is a huge priority here. And then if any maintenance or improvements are required, some fees would be for that. So if there's NFT creation is going to have a cost associated, so that will take some fees. And if there's any additional features added to the proxy, we'd also use some of the revenue for that. I also think it's important to start paying some of the people who do a lot of work to aggregate this data, which does include myself. I won't shamelessly put that forward. It would be transparent and open. Everyone would see what the payment is. But guys like Debura or Drill Sergeant Zeus, he's been doing a ton of work on this. There's a few others who are kind of trying to aggregate data. And I think volunteerism is important, but a little bit of a reward, even if it's just a couple bucks, I think is symbolic and goes a long way. But and that would be based on maybe a 5 or so member team. It depends. And then it would be based on effort, input, and time spent. A lot of this is sort of hard to know, because if no one really aggregates this proxy and we don't get many votes, then there's not much revenue to worry about. However, if it does turn out to be a success, then there would be potentially lots of revenue. So it sort of just has to be figured out as we go, trusting the person who's leading the charge that they would do the right thing. Open and transparency is key. All fees paid would be open and transparent, just like I did with the original trial election. All the transactions were logged and then presented in that final blog post I did. Eden Treasury, so any remaining rewards that don't get consumed will be given back to Eden to use in the Treasury for future elections. Again, it's variable because we don't know how many we'll get. The NFT idea, I'd like to basically roughly each month, if an account is staking with the proxy, and if they have a minimum stake and duration, they would get like an NFT badge. And we could, the badges could have increased rarity based on how much EOS and how long they remain staked. And then I like to do some sort of like what the Finncoin guys did, where they burn the Finncoins to then create little dudes, and then have those being burned and combined to create more variants. And then maybe some of those NFTs over time could actually provide some sort of benefit within Eden. So someone else within Eden builds something, and they can then look for those NFTs to provide additional reward for whatever it is they're doing for their projects. How much money you need to start this? It's super cheap. Basically 5 EOS is the fee for GenerEOS to set up this proxy. So like almost nothing. And then I'd like to pay Edgar from EOS Costa Rica, because they are, for one, they built the EOSrate.io tool for free essentially, but they're also then customizing it for us. And I've already made contact for him to do this, to filter the Eden members only. So we filter out for Eden members and see what their subjective views are. That's important. So it's not just spammed by random accounts that will try to prop up certain BP rankings. I'd like to also commission John Heater. He had an EOS BP dashboard that's since been decommissioned, but he could recommission that, bring it back to life, and then also try to make sure the metrics fit with what we're looking for. And that would be a spin-off from that conversation I mentioned earlier with sort of the BP members within Eden to figure out what are the really important metrics we should have in this dashboard. And then I'd like to set up the NFTs. I did touch base with Tim from Generios. He says this can be done. It's not a small task. It might take some, I don't know how the funding, he just says it would be a bit of work to set that up. So that's something that would come later. It wouldn't be right away. And it would be based on sort of any, demand, essentially. I'm going to throw the idea out there. If people like it, then I would take some of the rewards. Instead of giving them back to the Eden proxy, I'd put it towards setting up this gamification of the proxy itself. And that is my pitch.
So I think there's been a little bit of time that has lapsed since I last looked into the mechanics of a proxy. The way that I understood them to work before was that basically you vote with your staked EOS on block producers. And if you don't have the concern to look into all of the block producers enough, you can basically delegate your vote to a proxy and note that that person or that entity is doing the research on the block producers enough, and they will cast your vote for you. The part that I am confused about, and correct me if any of that's wrong, but I think I see you shaking your head. I don't know where the rewards come from. I didn't know that there was any kind of income that was generated based off of the existence of a proxy or using it. So how are the funds actually generated?
Though it's the vote buying schemes, essentially. So you set your proxy up with BPs. So you basically register your proxy with the BPs. And this is all done through the Generios tool. Part of their 2% fee is this setting up this mechanism. So you set your proxy up with BPs. They then include you. So when you take your vote, the proxy's vote, and you vote for a BP, that gets registered. And the BP then gives you daily kickbacks, voter rewards for doing so. So it's basically you're buying into this. The idea is I don't want to solve voter buying yet.
Right.
Like that's not I don't want to go down that path. I don't want to be adversarial. I want to just try to build. I don't even care necessarily if I'm thinking there might be two proxies. One proxy that gives the full voter reward back for those voters who want to receive the return on that vote, and then another proxy that's still same list of BPs, but the other one would then allow for people to say, you know what, I don't care about my 2%. I'm willing to just donate that to Eden, so I'll vote for that proxy. So, but yeah, that's how it works. You basically register, and then through the voter reward system, the kickbacks come.
Yeah, it's really interesting that they allow those kickbacks, because I remember in like the original like BP formation, there was somebody that had something like that registered in their block producer bio. It was like, if you vote for us, you're going to get a kickback for it. And they like fell off the list really quick. It seemed like the community didn't like that, but it's interesting that it works like that. So does it typically work sort of like a savings rate? Like if we have, let's say 1,000 EOS allocated to the proxy for it to have weight with, we kind of get like basically a kickback for like 10%, 5%, something like that, or
it's like less than 2. It's tiny, but yes, you're right. That's exactly how it works. It's like a savings.
2%. I mean, if we want to talk about the real world, 2% is still great. So that's cool. And yeah, I guess we're not trying to solve the thing. Spencer, I think like before I like say like Chris Barnes, because he obviously has a specific thing, it seems like you were more symbolically throwing your name in. I want to make sure that I didn't misunderstand that.
I'm totally voting for Chris right now.
Okay. He had me as soon as he said John Heater as well. Because I'm like one of John's biggest fans. I've been one of the longest participants in his platform. And any way that we can get that guy paid for all
right now, we should be discussing how to make Chris's pitch tighter and better, because I think we're all agreeing that he's our man, right?
Definitely seems prepared and ready to do what he suggests. So yeah.
Okay, so I have some suggestions. It was so fast. It was a fire hose, and I could not appreciate the brilliance of it. because I wanted to marinate in each of those slides a little bit and I couldn't. It was a little bit too fast. So maybe it's going to be, how long did that take? I lost track of the time. I think
About
it was
5
maybe,
minutes.
I thought it was longer than that.
Maybe it could have been because I embellished more than I even did when I practiced.
Okay. So I felt like it was going to be, if it's only 5 minutes or 10 minutes even, that's fine. But here's my suggestion. Maybe Dan and Nick can give some feedback on this particular topic. But what if instead of just diving into this pitch deck and turning on that fire hose right away, it's like you ease into it more with a vision of like, this is what I want to build. And it's like this vision of, okay, it's a proxy that makes money, and all of the money is being put towards Eden projects, or however, I can't say it as well because, like I said, I felt like a lot of that went over my head, like the vision. But it'd be great to hear like a really tight, inspiring vision of the problem you're solving or the value you're adding. And then people are going to have all of these questions like, oh, how are you going to do that? Oh, a proxy. And so then make note of the questions that you got here. It's like, wait, how does a proxy make money? So maybe that gets addressed in your slide deck, because that's going to be the first question that pops up into a lot of heads. Anyway, I don't have a lot of suggestions specifically. It was so much and so rad that anyway.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Josh made it for me last night, and I was busy pumping out that video. I don't know if you guys saw the video I put out yesterday for the resignation of the Satoshi.
I saw the very beginning of it, and I had to pause it. I want to watch the rest later. I didn't have time to finish it yet.
I'll find the link here so you guys can have it. It was meant to be funny. Like
it was funny. I laughed
all day yesterday doing it.
Yeah, Spencer, I agree with your feedback there as well. I think that I knew that the intent was to skim through it quickly, so I'm not judging you on skimming through it quickly. But I didn't know what the pitch was until about halfway through. So like an intro executive summary kind of thing at the beginning. Hey, I want to create a proxy that gives the bulk of the rewards back to Eden, and here is how I will execute and all of the details of it. It doesn't sound expensive, like 5 EOS. I know that's like the registration fee, but like realistically, how long does the time take to dive in to do the research?
That's right.
And like actually vet, I guess, people.
That's the biggest key. You nailed it. It's not a cost problem, it's a time problem. And then how far down the path do you go? So, but to go back, so you guys, maybe the best bet is to not even worry about the deck and just verbally explain what I'd like to do and not worry about having a visual representation. I won't have time to putting that on the next call.
Yeah, here's what I would suggest for future. It's like, have a vision that you present, anticipate the questions that will be asked, and I'd be happy if you wanted to like practice your pitch on me and or our group, and then we could help you come up with questions that would pop into people's minds. And then you have maybe a presentation that you could jump to, a visual explainer. If it's a sentence and it's simple to answer that, then fine, maybe you don't need a presentation. But if it would be helpful to have a visual aid in answering those questions, then it's more of like a reference material. Instead of like something you grind through, it's something that you reference and you jump to this, you jump to that. Somebody asks this question, you jump over to slide this. Somebody asks that question, you jump over to slide that.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, like you say, fire hose. But the general vision is to create a voice for the community and to aggregate our voice to do what delegated proof of stake was supposed to be about, and that was to have the token holders actually make conscious decisions to vote for BPs that actually benefit the entire ecosystem. And maybe that's just making blocks, maybe that's providing ample voter reward. I'm not passing judgment on that, but the goal is just to collect and aggregate our voice, just like 1 + 1 = 3, align the voice and make it more powerful, and therefore get more out of our respective votes.
Somebody said
That's
that
the-
one
that's the
plus one
vision.
equals three thing more times now that I know there must actually be some math by that. Is it like because I'm giving EOS to a proxy, it counts more than one EOS?
No. Symbolic. It's just when you take two disparate individuals who have separate subjective goals and focus, and you can align them to be working together in harmony in the same direction, they can accomplish more than they could have individually. So it's not a, it's
Oh,
a
right.
non zero
Sum of the
sum game.
parts is greater than
Yeah.
the pieces individually when you add them up or something like
It's
that.
it's from Dan's book, right? This
Okay.
is it's one of the references to More Equal Animals, where we're trying to align the EOS community under this sort of banner of Eden, and then collectively we're all going to accomplish way more than had we just remained, separate, disparate individuals.
And how will we prioritize block producers that are selected? I know there were the metrics, and then you talked about it was individual. Like we have kind of a say as like if we participate in the proxy or if we as Eden members.
Yeah, so the plan there would be to have, so I want to much more heavily weight subjective views, which
Mhm.
is not typically how it's done, right? Usually you look at the actual hard metrics and you look at the infrastructure and you may vote accordingly. I want to vote more heavily based on the opinions of the people. So, and the people I care about most right now are the people within Eden. So an Eden member will be encouraged to, and this will be part of what I'll take away, is I will like spam essentially the members chat and say, hey, please go to this, please use your Eden EOS account, log in, rate these BPs,
Mhm.
and you pick of those 5 metrics where you see them all, which is the most, how much trustworthiness, transparency, blah, blah, blah. And then based on all those because that's pure subjective view, I will then every month filter out just the Eden members inputs, filter that out, that will rank the BPs, and then I'll use that ranking and say that'll be worth 75% of the total actual selection, and the other 25% will be based on objective metrics that like John can help me curate, right? Where latency,
Mhm.
missed blocks, all those things also then get weighted. They're just worth a whole lot less. than
So
the actual-
basically, if individual opinions are about the same, then
Yep.
metrics tip the scale. But unless metrics are very close, it's going to be public opinion that sways positioning on that. But
that's the goal. And then if we can get enough of the community, enough stake, that
Mhm.
will, because I've heard negative opinions on this where I'm kind of wasting my time and I don't have the skill set or the ability to reach the Eastern community, which is where a lot of the token holders are, or the whales. That very well may be true. But I don't see any harm in trying. And if it turns out that I can aggregate enough of the voice and we get a large enough proxy, VPs are going to want to talk to me. Or us, I say me if I run it, but like they're going to
Mhm.
want to talk to the Eden proxy because we have enough vote and we're voting based on our opinion. So show us that you're doing good things. I think there's a huge disconnect between Eastern BPs and Western BPs, and most of that's just language barrier. I've heard that there's a lot of Eastern BPs who are doing great things. We just never hear about it. So when we don't hear anything, we assume the worst. And I think we can fix that. We can improve the overall EOS sentiment by actually demonstrating and having the BPs from the East through translation services demonstrate and prove, no, we're actually doing quite a bit. And if we can kind of build some of these bridges, it'll make a more holistic and unified community. Yeah. And then so the BPs will want to talk to us so we can basically advertise for them. We're going to I want to do interviews. So some of the video content I've been doing, I'm going to try to do more like interview style content and like advertise on behalf of the BPs, try to make them look good.
Okay, awesome. So one of the ways to attract votes or EOS to vote for a BP or a proxy is you say, I'll pay you if you vote for me. The other way of paying somebody to vote for you is you build stuff for them. That's kind of what we're talking about here. It's you vote for a BP that's adding value to the chain, to EOS. So it seems like to make this successful, to convince people in the East especially, but anybody, even me, to like, okay, with my Eden account, it's got a smaller amount, but I have another account that has more. And am I willing to like forfeit like date money every day for something that I'm not seeing a clear value to, So then it's like, how do you convince somebody to give up their daily kickback and vote for, and the answer to that is you show them the value proposition. It's like, or one of the ways, it's not the only way, but one of the ways is to show them a convincing value proposition of, here are all of the BPs that we're voting for, the Eden proxy is voting for. This is all of the value that they're currently building. This is the value that they've contributed. This is their track record. This is what they're currently building. And this is what's in the pipeline. If they can get this many votes and keep this many votes, then they've got these projects in the pipeline. And this is the value that they are adding and will continue to add to EOS. That would be exciting enough for me as an investor to say, hey, I'll delegate my votes and not collect the fees because I want to see this value put back onto EOS. And the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. It's like, okay, I could get $10 a day from my daily kickbacks, or I could give that $10 a day to these BPs who are going to build way more value into it than my $10 a day.
It wouldn't, I don't think it works quite like that. So, and I'm not enough of an expert to understand exactly, but my understanding, like, so you would choose a proxy and you would basically either receive the rewards yourself, Spencer, or they would remain within the proxy. So I wouldn't have the ability to then give that little slice of your reward back to a particular BP. The proxy would keep whatever you forego. So then
that's fine. I mean,
it's
from my
what does the
perspective,
proxy do, right? So
from my perspective,
go ahead.
From my perspective, I'm either keeping the money for myself or giving it to EOS development, and I'm just simplifying it that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so I think the answer. So I think two proxies is key. One proxy that just allows that people get the same kickback they're used to getting, and that's fine. Like I pass no judgment, but at least I get their vote in one proxy. And then another proxy picking the same BPs would be a donation proxy, where then you could give up your $10 a day. That goes towards running the proxy, so that then pays for some time for guys who are going through, trying to reach out all these BPs, doing the interviews, doing the content, and then anything left over, which there could potentially be a lot, then gets just fed right back into Eden to run these types of events. And that's where you get this is how the greater community can benefit, because Eden then has more funding and Eden can do more things. But I don't see this as an Eden revenue generator necessarily. To me, it's more about aggregating our voice to have an influence as to who the top 21 are. I think we have far more power, and we'll have far more, we'll get a lot more out of that by actually influencing the top 21 versus we will by making a few $1,000s for Eden, right? Because we want millions for Eden, but those millions are going to come by having BPs agree with what Eden's doing, and whether it's giving us RAM fees or turning on inflation, that's going to be dependent on who the top 21 are. So I'd rather use this proxy to help push those top 21 than trying to use a proxy to make money, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. That's what I'm saying too. So maybe it's confusing how I'm using the words and it's miscommunicated. So the only way that you can influence the BP 21 is by having the number of votes. Yep. And the way that you get the number of votes is attracting the number of votes. And the only way to attract the votes is by saying, if you vote for us, we'll give you value. That comes in two forms, simplified. It's $10 a day, or your daily kickback, or it's EOS BP's like building value on the chain.
That's
so if there were like a really well put together Eden proxy portal that people can peer into and see, like, let me open this website and get a really good view of all of the value that the Eden proxy is bringing to EOS. That's what I'm saying is key to this, because it's got to be really clear at first glance. What do I get by voting, by giving up my daily kickback?
Exactly. And I'm 100% with you. That's why part of the fees that would be generated by those who are willing to give, because for example, if no one wants to give back their kickback, then the proxy itself makes no revenue, right?
It's powerless.
It's powerless, but it can still be a voice. It can still aggregate. It's just there will be no funding to set up this website and pay the people to help curate it, right? It would just be
how is there a voice?
Thing.
How is there a voice without votes?
In delegated proof of stake, there isn't.
Why did you say that there was? Maybe I misunderstood you. It seemed like you just said, I said it would be powerless without votes, and you said it would still have a voice.
The funding for the proxy comes from people that give their EOS the proxy and then say, no, I don't want my kickback, keep it.
Right.
And he's saying if everybody says, gimme my kickback, that the proxy can still function. It's just nobody's going to be getting paid for their time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It would limit, like, because you said it'd be great if there was a website that had, what are you doing? Show us the data. What are you voting for? Where's the return on investment? Where's the value proposition? Building that, hosting that website would have to be purely voluntary. If exactly what Dan said, if no one was willing to give back some of their rewards.
Got it.
Like,
Okay.
personally, like I want EOS to go up, 150, 300%. I'd rather get my rewards there than getting my 2% kickback. But that's
Exactly.
I mean, to each their own. There's no judgment, but I think there's a few people who probably have that perspective and are thinking more bigger picture and are willing to forego a small percent to maybe have this proxy do more because it's being sufficiently funded to actually get people, working and motivated. And then setting up these tools, paying someone to put up a website. We can ask for it for free, but it'd be a lot better if I could give someone, 100 EOS to say, hey, it's better than nothing. It's less than you'd probably normally get, but it's something. And I think that speaks a lot. Like, voluntarism is important, but that runs out of steam after a while, right? So
Yeah.
we need to sort of maintain some sort of incentivization.
Cool.
What do you think, Nick? You're on mute.
I'm not sure what to add. I guess I'm kind of gaining an understanding of what's going on by listening, but I'm not sure what I could, add. I don't have any questions, honestly. I like the idea of pooling the EOS to add to a, vote for the block producer. Makes sense to, have enough
Perfect.
say to be a block producer that way, and to keep that, not get drawn up by other people who want to be block producers, I guess.
Right on. So it sounds like a good idea. That's what I'm after, making sure it's resonating at least and making sense to you.
Mostly, yeah. I'm still have a fragmented understanding of how it works exactly. So I'm trying to piece it all together. Kind of new to the EOS scene as of like a month or so ago.
Oh, no way. Oh, awesome. So, I mean, we not to peel off from the proxy stuff, but that's cool. What, like what brought you here? Like how'd you hear about us?
Just researching crypto investments. I heard about EOS in the past, and then I saw the Eco Animals book and read a little, that first intro thing. I'm like, well, that sums up how I've been feeling lately. And then I finally got around to, reading more about it, following up with, I missed the first election. So I tried to kind of read, what it was and what it does. I've been following that BS Calling Scout on Reddit.
Yep.
A lot of good information, trying to keep up with the links there and still piecing together understanding through that.
That's great. So Reddit's
Cool.
actually working a bit to reach out. That's good to know.
That's what I came
Good
across initially, all of this. But I've been around a while, so not very participating, but
You're here. This is participating.
Yes,
Your
I'm
feedback
trying-
is important.
trying to
this is
start
useful.
participating. It's kind of a new thing for me, but going
Good for
to
you.
be doing that going forward more.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, yeah, any other, so I think my takeaways, fellas, is not worry about the deck and just verbally explain the plan. And then as questions come in, I could say, well, I could run you through my deck and then take more time to kind of go through it.
I think yeah, I think that would probably be better than jumping into the deck and going full steam, because it, like Dan, I was trying to catch up. I kind of knew you were already sort of working on something like this, so I anyway, it's like I knew that this was rumbling around in the channels, so
it doesn't
anyway.
help that I can speed talk.
Yeah, you're an auctioneer. So
Yeah.
actually, I guess I'm second guessing my suggestion, because at the next levels of rounds, at the next rounds, people are going to be a lot more familiar. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying you got to speak to your audience. Generally speaking, I think it'd be better to start with a clear vision of what you're trying to achieve. I'm not saying don't go through the deck, because the deck was really cool to see. It was impressive to see. And maybe you just prioritize, like make sure you have the most important slides, like the top 10 slides at the beginning, and you go through that and hit those really well. And then you say, I have a lot more slides that get into the details of how these things are done. So you can ask questions and we can talk more about that. But, and kind of like take it from a choose your own adventure at that point.
And that's, yeah, okay, I think that's what I'll do. That makes sense. I can go through just the beginning of it and stop partway through before I get into the details, which, because if I did the beginning slower, it does explain the fact that I'm just trying to make a voice of the people, subjective metrics, here's how you collect it, KPIs are these, and then and then stop. Okay.
I like that. Yeah, like it's all, you're not selling them on the how, you're selling them more on the why.
Yeah,
and the
understood.
what.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I don't know if this is relevant or not. It looks like this Nova Crypto Patrick guy on the Telegram, who's pretty active in the community, is desperately trying to get in. I don't know if anybody knows him, or
He got kicked out?
he
Oh,
missed
no.
everything. He's still locked out, he says.
Oh no.
I keep seeing him come up in the Telegram.
Now he's pinging me directly here.
Really?
He's a really nice. He's that's too bad. He had put together a whole proposal and everything.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Let me message him here.
Are
He
you
must have gotten
2Ply
confused on the time.
in Telegram? Nick, are you
Yes.
2Ply in Telegram?
I am.
Okay, I'm just adding our handles to the spreadsheet here. And
Nice.
everybody's voting for Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, feel like tell me no. Otherwise, I'm just copying the name over right now so that
Do it.
nobody
Oh,
else has to go. in
apparently
there.
a few people got ejected. He's saying after 30 minutes, I was ejected as others, and now
It
this
warned me about a
is locked.
40-minute timer. I haven't been kicked out though.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's gonna be really a shame if this gets all messed up. Zoom killed my audio when we broke out. Sorry. I hope too many people don't get messed up.
Yeah, there's the host just needs to spend a little bit more time with Zoom practicing, because like you can set it where you don't need a password to come in, and you can like set all of the permissions for your guests ahead of time. It might be good in a future evolution of Eden if all of us have like at eden.org, and then we can have an Eden Telegram and we can all be company members of it. And then you just come straight in, you come
Eden
straight
Zoom,
out.
you mean?
Yeah, like an at eden.org
Yeah.
email address. And if we all logged into Zoom with that, we wouldn't have any like problems. I'm not sure.
Makes sense. I just had major deja vu there. That was wild.
I guess it's
Don't
right.
you love those crazy ones? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
was
like,
it something that I said? Have you heard that before?
well, yeah, I feel like it. And with like, and yeah, you with beard and everything. That was a bizarre one right there.
I got
The only time I think we've ever spoken before was when you witnessed me into Eden.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Deja vu is a funny thing.
it's gone.
Things
about
we
as
don't
far-
understand. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was saying that the Zoom meeting type thing goes about as well as all the kids' Zoom meetings did, as far as getting school set up and everything. About 2/3 of the people got in, and everybody else is like, "Hey, nothing's working."
Right.
I guess this is the second one. It makes it kind of hard to get all the bugs worked out yet.
Yeah. Spencer, did you record this from the very beginning?
I started it. First couple seconds.
Maybe can we use yours, even though I'm moving on? Only because I started a few like after we did a quick little intro. I got most of it, but maybe yours would be more holistic.
You know, we could look at whichever's better quality. I've had mine at this weird, really tall view, so it's not like a good. I'm not sure how to record. So you're free to choose mine, and I'll take a
mine's
screenshot of
recording.
how. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sure
yeah,
as long as yours
either
has
one
the
is-
consensus, it'll be fine.
Where we all say yes. I vote
Yeah.
for Chris.
Yeah.
Vote for Chris.
All right.
Chris.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the feedback and the constructive comments because yeah, this is a whole game of trying to learn and get better. And Nick, thanks for joining the community, man. That's awesome that you're new and you took the time to actually participate in this. I think that's really awesome.
Thanks for having me. Really, I'm glad I can start to be part of something here.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring, especially based on like the principles in Dan's book, which you're exposed to. Like it's certainly much bigger than just EOS alone, which I think a lot of us are captured by and want to make this work on EOS, so then it becomes easier to kind of proliferate the methodology and ideas to other non-EOS, non-crypto space, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with crypto. Kind of a several month newish thing, I guess. Maybe since.
All right. That's it. It sounds like